And this is called private browsing. What seems to be the problem, sir? Clutching my worn-out Toshiba laptop, I responded, I think I have a virus. I was at a PC repair shop hoping to get my computer fixed. I explained to the associate that the problem seemed to be that whenever I tried to open up my internet browser, a million of them would flood my screen. What I neglected to mention was that most of the sites that popped up randomly were sexual in nature. Images of women wearing next to nothing and chat invitations from girls named Naughty Love Doll 69 would litter my computer screen. Other times, the browsers were just blank. I bought this laptop secondhand from my brother, and it constantly needed to be plugged into a power source. I had no virus protection, and my browsing habits weren't exactly pure. I was hoping to just drop the laptop off and be done with it. But after I explained the problem, the associate asked me to turn my laptop on. In the moments that followed, as my laptop started up, I nearly fainted. When my desktop background appeared, I was hyperventilating. The associate asked me to click on my internet browser. I did. And as the page loaded, my life flashed before my eyes. I was taken back to my childhood. I was about 7 or 8 when my mother and father rounded up my brothers and I to question us about a DVD she found under the microwave. She held the evidence in her hand, and I saw that it was a DVD titled Tits of Fury. My father nodded his head solemnly as my mother tried to get one of us to confess. My brothers and I looked at one another suspiciously. I didn't know who Tits of Fury belonged to, but it wasn't the first time I'd seen it lying around the house. On a couple of occasions, I saw the DVD in different hiding places. One time, it was at the bottom of the dirty clothes basket, and another time, the movie hid in the vegetable drawer in the refrigerator, a place no one dared to venture. Clearly, the suspect knew what he was doing. This is someone's daughter. This is someone's mother. You should be ashamed of yourselves, my mother lamented. And then in front of us, she broke the DVD to pieces, and Tits of Fury was no more. This was before desktop computers and the internet were readily available, so if you wanted to see sexual things, you had to get a magazine, movie, or just use your imagination. But when I became a teenager, my family invested in a single home desktop computer, and it revolutionized everything. Suddenly we had access to chat rooms, an infinite amount of games, and dirty websites. My friends and I would often stay up late messing around in different chat rooms. It wasn't so much the chat themselves that excited us, but the possibility of the chats we could have. One night after we had all went to bed, my friend Ray stayed up late on the computer. I woke up to the sound of my mother screaming and cursing in Spanish. Apparently, she had woken up to check on the house, and in the process of doing so, walked in on Ray watching porno. She called him cochino, which means filthy boy. Ray didn't come around for a while after that. What Ray had failed to realize is that discretion is of the utmost importance when engaging in this type of behavior. As an adult, I find the experience of watching dirty movies labor-intensive. In my case, watching an adult film is a carefully calculated and measured experience, like baking a chocolate souffle. If everything isn't right, then something will go wrong. No one can be in the house, the lights have to be dim, and the door must be locked. In other words, privacy must be ensured. Back at the PC repair shop, my browser was still loading. I was holding my breath when suddenly the screen filled with white, blank pages. I felt relieved. I left my laptop and the repairman said it would be fixed in a couple of days. Not long after, my Toshiba laptop died for good, and years later, I bought a MacBook Air. One of the things that intrigued me about my new laptop was the private browsing function on the internet browser. Anyone who claims that they use private browsing for banking-related purposes probably has a dungeon full of questionable items. And while the private browsing function has allowed me to enjoy my adult material comfortably, I can't help but giggle. For instance, the titles of adult films that imitate actual movies are my favorite. The Devil Wears Nada, Free My Willy, and my personal favorite, Lord of the G-Strings. What I find most amusing, though, about dirty movies is the cartoonish portrayal of a woman's infinite appetite for a penis. She could be doing the most ordinary of things, such as mopping or organizing her stamp collection, and when a penis appears, suddenly, she drops everything. Is that a penis? Even funnier are the hyper-macho men who star in these movies. They huff and puff while saying vulgar things until the moment of ecstasy, and then go into what appears to be septic shock. I think it would be great if when everyone reached their personal moment of climax, they would scream out their favorite movie quote or their favorite Bible verse. I guess it's all fun and games until you realize the dark realities of the sex industry, things like human trafficking and such. I once met a man named Cliff whose own mother used to be in the adult entertainment industry. I remember vividly the look of disgust and pain on his face as he relayed this information to me. I guess I'd never actually considered the children and families of adult film entertainers. I once saw an episode of Our America with Lisa Ling, in which a group of amateur porn stars were profiled. Cherry, a 50-year-old mother who does what she calls remote intimacy, was profiled. Several times a week, Cherry sits in front of a web camera wearing lingerie with a drink in her hand as men chat with her. The goal, Cherry says, is to tease the men by giving them a sneak peek of what I have to offer. If they like what they see, they can pay to have a private session with me and request I do intimate things. Cherry says that most of her customers tend to be young, mostly men in their early 20s. Cherry has an adult daughter who in the middle of the episode finds out her mother does porn. The daughter takes the news pretty hard, saying, "If my coworkers and friends find out what you do, I'll be ruined. You're going to destroy everything that I have worked for." Cherry looks like a washed-up blackjack dealer from Kansas. The burdens of life manifest themselves on her face and hands. This is someone's daughter. This is someone's mother. This is someone's family. And while this isn't groundbreaking or will stop the darker realities of this industry, perhaps its consideration can add a human element to the equation. And in doing so, it may give us pause. That is, make us think twice about our private browsing habits. At the very least, maybe it will make us reconsider watching films like The Sperminator. Thank you very much.